Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's our instant post-match reaction and review to Bristol City 0, Leeds United 0 with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever is Jason Booker. So a bit of a bore draw today. I mean, one of those games where you just kind of accept it. You go, okay, we've got a point. It's away from home. I mean, a bit of a weird game, really, Jason. I mean, obviously we've been, we've won back-to-back games at home. We've been in good form. I think Bristol City is always one of those fixtures in the Championship. You look at the start of the season, you go 3 points. We'll get 3 points there. And I think everybody probably thought 3 points. I mean, it's fascinating looking at some of the post-match reaction, certainly online at the moment. I think a lot of different opinions coming through. For me, we did enough to win the game. I thought we created some really good chances. I thought, generally speaking, we were dominant. I thought first half, Bristol certainly, came at us. But, as you've always mentioned, there's two teams that play and they've got a home crowd there, willing them on. So I thought we handled that really well. I thought we grew into the game. We started to create chances, and it just didn't happen today. It just didn't happen in terms of the final ball. The final decision on the ball for me was just not there today. But I'm not too deflated. I think a point away from home in the Championship, especially this Championship season, we're not chasing a team that's 10, 15 points ahead of us already. I can accept that. I think that's fine for me. It was still okay. I think obviously a few disappointments here and there, but I think I'm okay with it, Jason. Really, I think it would have been lovely to obviously get another win, and certainly Bristol City is a team that we're better than, and we should be winning it really. But football's not always really about that. We just didn't really have that cutting edge today.
Yeah, I think ultimately we're not going to win every game.
No,
Bristol are 11 undefeated at home now. 11 games without losing at Ashton Gate. I still think, as you've said, we did more than enough to win the game. If we'd have had a bit more of a clinical edge in the first half, again, the game could have been done. Dan James should do better. Nonto should do better. The opportunity Nonto had to put Dan James through. Before Dan James then had the big chance that he should do better with. There were several moments in the first half where it just took a little bit more of a clinical edge, and we probably scored. Bogle should probably do better with his header. And it kind of goes on and on and on like this. Joseph should do better with his header in the second half as soon as it comes on. There were some, I thought, half lacking performances from key players in key areas. Pirro particularly, I thought, really struggled today. I thought we missed Ramazani on the left. I thought we desperately missed Firpo at left back. Just gives us that natural width. And we didn't kind of have that proper balance through either side, and to kind of obviously turn over a few pages at once. We forced that ball down the left far too often in the second half, and it just became predictable. Kind of seen that performance in the second half a lot last season when Byron was in that position. I'm not hating on Byron. He's a right-footed left back, and he's defensively probably the most sound fullback we have in the whole squad. He probably is the best defensive fullback we have, but he's not what this system needs. So we desperately missed Firpo in the build-up. But yeah, I think the overreaction that I've seen as well is completely and utterly wild. I mean, it's definitely not the worst performance that we've seen this season. We have 15 shots on goal, 4 on target. Bristol City, as I said, a strong home performing team. They're just in the top 10. They had 5 shots with 1 on target in the whole 90 minutes. We completely controlled the game still. Without being blood and thunder, we're setting ourselves up to win these games and keep teams at arm's length. Again, we've given Ilan Meslier nothing to do. For 90 minutes, he's had nothing to do. I thought Bristol City started okay. I wasn't happy with the left-sided defence in the first 10-15 minutes, especially. Pascal got caught out a couple of times with balls in behind him where he was just daydreaming. He's watching the ball in front of him and kind of gravitating towards the attacker or the midfielder in front of him, and the ball's going in behind him. And it seemed to me as if they targeted that side a little bit. But in the second half, I thought they did fine. I thought they defended really, really well, and we were just a little bit wasteful with the ball. But again, you can't put today on Daniel Farke, mate. The amount of times, again, that we just didn't show the clinical edge. We didn't hit the final ball, which we should have done. Nonto should score. I know it's a good clearance off the line, but he should score. It's a bit of a sitter, really. It's a bit of a sitter. He almost has time to put his foot on the ball and pick his spot, but he goes first time, which is fine. But then you have to make sure that you're finishing the chance. So yeah. Overall, I'm not too disappointed with the point. We're now 7 unbeaten as well. Again, we cruise through another game in which we look by far the better side, and we move on to the next one, mate. Well, now we get 7 days of proper rest before we're back at Ellen Road, because I do think there's a certain amount of fatigue going on. The midfield two they've been thrust into first team action, and not only just first team action, but 90 minutes solid for pretty much 4 games in a row. Tanaka's been away in, other side of the world, and then coming back and expecting to play all these minutes. Same for Brendan Aronson, who, by the way, the amount of work that lad gets through, wasteful in possession at times, but he gives the ball away and he's instantly all over them. Like, he gives the defenders or whoever's got the ball no time. He's constantly returning the ball back for us. I thought, out of possession today, he was by far our best player, Brendan Aronson. Today, he was constantly at it, just in possession. Just needs that little bit more quality and composure at times. But yeah, overall, mate, I'm okay.
No, I absolutely. I think you're right there. I mean, just picking it up on the Brendan Aronson just quickly, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, out of possession, he's a beast. He's an absolute beast. He's chasing, harrying. He's doing Pirot's work, in terms of closing that final third down. On the ball, too much going backwards too much, and not I don't know, brave enough or not enough vision to kind of do the final pass. But on the ball was lacking from Aronson definitely today. I think you've absolutely nailed that. I think off the ball he was absolutely fantastic, but on the ball we need certainly a bit more, I think, and he's shown that he can give us a bit more, previously. I think you're right. I think, look, I mean, Joe Rothwell, I'd love to know the stats on when the last time Joe Rothwell played 3 or 4 games consecutively for 90 minutes. I would love to know that, because that must have been a long time.
Absolutely. I thought he was decent today as well.
Yeah.
I thought he really grew into the game. I thought he covered a lot of ground. Him and Tanaka both did again. A bit wasteful in possession at times. Rothwell has a great chance after about 5 minutes. Maybe 10, 15 minutes after. It was early on anyway, on the half volley that he probably...
How they missed the target from there, do you?
I know.
How they missed the target. It's harder to miss it than put it on target, surely.
He'll be kicking himself tonight with that one, I reckon, because if he got that one, I reckon another 9 times out of 10, I reckon he hits the target or scores. Because technically he's got that in the locker, so yeah, a bit of a shame. Maybe it came too early. A bit like the
We only needed one today.
We needed
that first goal, didn't we? I reckon, if we'd have scored that first goal today, I reckon, 2-3-0 easily.
Yeah, I agree.
It would have happened. I mean, it was kind of one of those games as well. I mean, obviously, we talk about the Sheffield United game and obviously everything that happened with George Baldock, and obviously with Liam Manning today, Bristol City manager who lost his son recently in his first game back, and it was really emotionally charged, that kind of tribute before the game, and, the fans had the cards up, fly high Theo and everything, it touched me as well. I was moved by that as well, and it's another game where you're going into and there's that emotional edge to it as well. And, Bristol really came flying out of the gates at us, but I just felt we did that thing where we just kind of soaked it up, and we were just getting going. And, like you say, we were missing key players, obviously Firpo. I mean, it's, it really was a kind of looking back at last year, how we were playing when we had Byram in that position last year. It really felt like that. I mean, there was one part where Byram put a beautiful ball in on his right foot. He came in and put it on his right foot. But apart from that, it just doesn't have the same feel, does it, when you haven't got that natural left footer there?
Byram played fine today.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in this system, given that we need the fullbacks to bomb on to give that width, and the way that the team set up against us with the low blocks and the banks of players giving no space, it's almost like the opposition think about how our player first and then their own attack second. That's how it feels in a game like that. They're constantly shadowing all of our players when we're in possession, which, it's fine. Like, it's an alternative. I didn't have a problem with the way that Bristol played today. They didn't time waste. They played their game and they kept us out. think that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Byron played absolutely fine today. There were a couple of sloppy touches towards the back end of the game when he started to get a bit tired, I thought. But apart from that, I thought he defended fine. He carried the ball fine, but because he can't naturally go down the side onto his left foot and he wants to invert in and cut back on his right foot all the time, it just slows us play down time after time after time after time. And again, I haven't really got a problem with him for that. I've got a problem with the fact that we've not then utilising the right-hand side. Like, why are we not giving it to Bogle, who really was giving us good options down that right-hand side, getting in dangerous areas and getting that side of the team involved? You know, when Nonto went out there, when Solomon came on, we didn't see Nonto. We didn't see him again, like, because he was out on the right-hand side and we didn't see him for the rest of the game. So, yeah, just tactically, if you want a frustration towards Daniel Farker that's fair, that's the frustration I would have. Because instructional, it must be instructional. It cannot happen so repetitively and be like coincidence. It just can't. Like, it's clearly an intentional thing to maybe free up somebody to then come in off that side. But yeah, it just doesn't work constantly. You know what I mean?
No. And this is a kind of situation you get into it, isn't it, as well, when you get into kind of that second half. And I mean, you know, first half, Bristol, it felt to me that they at least tried to have some kind of impetus, but second half, they just completely sat back. And it was just basically, right, let's see what Leeds can do. And we couldn't really unlock it in any way. I mean, I've got to say, you know, for me, I mean, we were chatting briefly before we went on air about Nonto, and I feel like, I've mentioned this on streams previous, where for me he's a little bit too greedy. His final ball has not been there the last couple of games. I mean, he's had a couple of great. I mean, let's talk about the glaring one, the one where you thought we're absolutely in here, is where the ball breaks to Dan James, your quickest player, probably, you know, quickest player in the championship and everything, and you're thinking, right, it's just going to tear away from the defenders and, you know, whatever. And he kind of doesn't kind of get away from the defender. I'm looking at Nonto's kind of like running into him.
Yeah,
I'm like, why are you running into him? Like, I was so frustrated. I was frustrated because Dan James didn't pull away from the defender. But, you know, afterwards you can kind of go, well, he's just coming back from injury. And, you know, when you're a quick player, you don't want to pull something. So maybe he's just held back a little bit. But I'm looking at Nonto going, what run is that? Why are you 2 feet away from Dan James? I mean, the decision making from Dan James is abysmal. I mean,
they were both as bad as each other.
I don't know what planet you're on as a professional footballer that he thinks that is the ball to play on it. I mean, it's god awful. Well, Nonto, I'm like, Jesus, give him some space.
It was like neither of them could really predict what the other one was going to do. So, like, Nonto really should have ran diagonally and pulled the defender away from what was going on, or at the worst, go out towards the touchline to drag a player. But yeah, he does neither. He kind of just stands in Dan James's way, and Dan James, you know, he should really be knocking the ball ahead of himself and tearing onto it. I think that's what Ramazani would have done. I think that's what a fully fit Dan James would have probably done as well, because Dan James did it earlier on in the second half and set up Nonto for the chance that Nonto misses. That with Dan James, you know, Bogle put a great ball through and him bursting away. So yeah, that was frustrating. The more frustrating one for me was when Dan James was just in acres of space and Nonto just had to pick a simple 10-yard pass, and he over hits it a good 10 yards. He basically puts Dan James out to the corner flag. It's just such a point. But again, because Nonto is of the threat that he is, and he's always, you know, I don't know, just certain players just have this kind of hold over some of the fan base where it's like they can do no wrong. Yet then Solomon comes on, who didn't play well either, but was really no different to what Nonto delivered, and gets battered. He just gets absolutely battered by the fan base. I don't really understand it. Like I say, maybe not so much now, but a couple of years ago, if Dan James had have finished the chance that Nonto did in the same way, he'd got pelters. But nobody will say anything negative about Nonto for that chance because it's Willie Nonto. It's really, but if Solomon had missed it, waste of a lawn spot. You know, he's crap. Like, he shouldn't be here anyway. Like, it's just, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I thought, you know, even the I forget who it is. It's not the Athletic. It's one of the media outlets that does the match ratings after the game. They gave Willie Gnonto the best rating from a Leeds player today.
We've seen that before.
Oh
my
like,
God,
I don't get it.
Oh, Jesus. One of my pet peeves is that.
I sometimes think I'm watching something different, but I just try and analyse the game without any sort of bias. Like, I have the back and forward about Pascal on Twitter. You'll have seen it during the game. Like, I have got I like Pascal Struijk as a decent championship centre-back, a good championship centre-back. But in the first 20 minutes, he was playing poorly. Like, it doesn't have to come from a place of an agenda or a bias to just say, this period of the game, he didn't play well. And, like Gnonto today, you can say, well, he was our most threatening player. Okay, fine. Yeah, I can understand that. I think that would probably be fair. But then he was very, very wasteful with everything that he got. You can say that as well. So, yeah, just I don't know. Just the fan base's heads sometimes are just completely buried in the sands.
I 100% agree with this. And this drives me up the wall because... Solomon's come on today, and Solomon is, he's had an injury. We're forgetting that he was man of the match the first game he ever played for the club. He's not fully up to speed. He's said it himself. I just think it's bonkers. I think there's, these agendas that are out there or something. It's this. It's like Aronson. Aronson himself, and look, he's not had the best game, certainly in possession today, but. Jesus, this guy's having to run through brick walls to get any kind of love from the fan base or certain big sections of the fan base. They just know he's, this is not this, is not that, And I think with Gnonto now, he's kind of is like the chosen one. It's like he can do no wrong. It's like, well, no, it's not his fault. I agree with you. That ball through to Dan James, there was no need for that to be overhit. And it's that kind of thing where it's like, if he is our best player, which he probably is our most talented player, this has been a tumultuous relationship with Willie Gnonto. He tried to leave the club 12 months ago. He put in a transfer that he wanted to go. He had to work to get back in our favour. We've given him a contract this summer. We absolutely know that contract has a release clause. There is no way that he, plays again in the Championship next year. That contract is basically his exit clause if Leeds don't get promoted. We know that. And it's like the fan base is like, right, he can do no wrong. Right, that's there's no criticism there. And you're absolutely right. We've seen it with other players before. Dan James, everyone, no. Crap, ton of bricks. If they get anything wrong. It's...
just on that, right? So I put after the game, really missed Verpo today. That said, I cannot understand why when Sam plays, we force the ball down the left more than ever. We have a natural attack down the right and ignore it. Okay? Yeah. Now, the first response from a fan that I've had back and forward with who just clearly can't take the blinkers off, right? His answer to that was, the answer to that would be Dan James. So he's saying the reason that we don't go down the right is because of Dan James. So the best chances of the game, all of them came through Dan James in either him being on the end of the direct chance where Gnonto overplays the pass, Gnonto plays a great pass through and Dan James puts a chance on target, keeper saves it. I'd rather give the keeper the benefit of the doubt of that. I think if Meslier did that, we'd be saying, well done, Meslier.
Yeah.
And then Dan James getting put through to then put the ball through to Gnonto. All of the best chances, mate, came through Dan James down the right-hand side, not down the left-hand side. So you tell me in what world a fan is looking at that, my status, and coming back with the comment of we're avoiding Dan James down the right. But it's this attitude again, this kind of stigma bias towards certain players in within the team. We're feeling like we're having a negative kind of connotation on the back of today. I'm actually all right with it, but it's just some frustrations more with the fan base, I think, than anything else.
Yeah, I think we've really got to relax about the fact that this is not last year's Championship. We are not 10, 15 points behind the top two. That for me that's okay today. Look, it doesn't always happen, does it?
No.
And we're still well within, where we need to be. The thing is, we don't look like getting beat. We don't. We don't look like getting beat. We're playing good football. I think it's just, it's a bit of entitlement or a bit of paranoia from last year. And
that top comment there from Beza, straight away, Sunderland winning shows how bad that result was. It's not the same. Sunderland are playing Oxford at home. You know, we're playing Bristol City away, who are notoriously always a team that flirt in and around the playoffs. They're 11 now unbeaten at home. You know, they're going into the game with their manager back in the dugout after the awful, you know, events that have happened to him way beyond football. You know, not telling me that hasn't given them players an extra 10% today.
Absolutely.
And they still got dominated for 90 minutes of the game.
I agree.
Like, I cannot get on board with the mindset that is a bad point today. Sure, we always want to win every single game, but we're not going to do that.
No, and I've got a, you know, I'm looking at a few things from social media as well, and this kind of Solomon thing as well. I think there's a nasty edge to it. I really do. I think there's, and we all know what that edge is, and I don't agree with it. And I'm just looking at stuff, you know, from Popey's commented, and then people are adding stuff on. No, not for me. That's not what it's about.
It's that unconscious. John Barnes talks about it all the time, and it's a different form of it with this, but it's unconscious racism that exists in society in general. That's what's going on with this. Right from the first second that Mano Solomon was linked with Leeds United, there were fans that wanted to make it about that rather than about football ability, and it's still there now. Like, they want to be proved right that the club should never have taken that chance. I prefer to look at it firmly from a football perspective. He's a good player. He's not up to full speed yet. He will come good if we can keep him fit. And I think he'll be a massive part of this squad, mate, when he's fully fit. I really do.
Absolutely. I think it's just bizarre. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
It really is. It really, especially a guy that got man of the match for the first game of the season. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of, you know, what else we could do. I mean, Pirot, I mean, you know, big talking point with Pirot, and I'm really frustrated with Pirot. I'm like, you know, you've almost got your position back in the team. Take the opportunity and go to that next level. Put the ball in the back of that. I mean, today was just non-existent. I mean, you know, a couple of people I watched it with today. You know, where's Pirot? I've not seen Pirot. What's Pirot? You know, and it felt like last year. You know, where there's just nothing from him at all. But then equally, Joseph comes on and misses a chance. You know, you just can't win, can you? You know, you just can't win.
I saw somebody make a really, really good point the other day, and I thought it was brilliant. It was on another stream, and it's funny because for years and years and years we've hammered Bamford for missing chances, but we didn't have anybody else to kind of compare him to. So Bamford got all the hate. He would never get dropped because we never had another striker, and nobody would kind of come in to kind of take that flack off him. Now we're seeing that the fact that strikers miss chances all the time, especially championship strikers. So we've now got two of them, and it's kind of balancing this situation out because it doesn't matter who you kind of play. You're either getting one thing from one and not the other. You know what I mean? Like Pirot in build-up for the last two games has been particularly poor. And it is disappointing because after he's worked his way back into the team, I thought he was great against Sunderland. I thought he was really good against Sunderland. In build-up, he obviously gets a goal. I thought he was very good. You think he'd be kind of grabbing that opportunity with both hands over the last two games, and he really hasn't. But then I'm not in a clamour to kind of put Matteo back in there because I do think, again, when the chances fall to one of them, I want them to fall to Pirot. So it's a real tricky one. But then would Pirot have been on the end of that chance that Matteo had? We don't know that. So it's
and Pirot missed a bucket for last, you know.
I mean, he should score against Watford, shouldn't he? He should score.
Decent opportunities then, it's a bit of a problem. You just think, God, you know, just put the ball in the back of the net. But it's fascinating actually because obviously Chris Wood became Nottingham Forest's all-time top scorer in the Premier League. You know, and
that's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, you know, and you're looking at him going. I mean, obviously he was someone who was a little bit derided, you know, especially at Newcastle or whatever, and. You know, he's come full circle and now he's this vital cog in a Premier League team. And you realise, like, this is how precious a commodity is as a striker.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
You know, I mean, look at Becchio. I mean, Becchio left us and never did a damn thing anywhere else, you know.
Yeah.
This is what happened to a lot of them. McCormick, Beckford, what did any of them do? You know, I mean, Beckford, he had a great goal against Everton that we all remember, but, you know, slowly kind of sank out of, you know, whatever that meant, and it's a really difficult thing. I think you make a great point about, Bamford. We never really had anyone to compare him against. We had Kamar Roof, who struggled with fitness at the time and that kind of thing. And now it's just dead frustrating that just when your strikers aren't firing and just getting those goals, it hurts you.
It's not just the strikers either, is it? Like, you have to be fair to the other, Nonto today is wasteful, Dan James today is wasteful. We could have easily had another 2 or 3 on top of Mateo's opportunity that he had. So, at this level, you are going to see chances be missed. It just is just one of them things. Unfortunately, we saw it for years when we were in the Championship before. Even under Marcelo, we used to miss a hatful of chances. Not just from Bamford, but it was just Bamford he was the one that got the stick. I thought it was funny today as well that fans were quick to jump on the Bamford-Nonto substitution. It made me laugh because Farker makes a change and he gets hammered. He doesn't make a change, he gets hammered. He goes 4-4-2, he gets hammered. He keeps it 4-2-3-1 for the whole game, he gets hammered. Like, he can't win, you know what I mean? And the facts are is in the last 5-10 minutes, Bamford's probably a better aerial threat. You bring Bamford on for Nonto, go 4-4-2, you put Brendan out on the right to probably better protect Bogle, and Bogle were on a yellow card. It made a lot of sense to me, but fans are just like, it makes no sense. Like, it just blows my mind. But yeah, again, it comes back to that fanfare, doesn't it? I honestly, I've come to the conclusion with fans, they just don't know what they're watching. I don't believe that, but I believe, that 75% of fans that watch football, they genuinely don't know what's going on in front of their eyes. They're just watching the ball move around and then a goal goes in. They have no idea about what goes on in between. Honestly, mate, that's the only conclusion I can come to.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, guys, yes, it was a flat performance, but you have to give Bristol City their due. They really had to work hard for their point as they were solid without being threatening. A point is a point. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a spot on comment. Nigel, Jaffu, guys, so disappointed with today's result. Opportunity missed for me. If Leeds had made changes earlier and upped the tempo second half, it was there to be won. I think the thing, I mean, they got to be fair. I mean, I was watching on Sky and the commentator said, just look at Bristol out of possession, and it was damn hard. I mean, they were really, really on it. They were communicating. They were in formation. There was nobody slacking off. I mean, they really didn't give us a sniff at all. And it's the Leeds United element as well. I mean, there's a great thing I've seen of Naki Wells online today that Jay has put on, actually. Where is it now? And basically, it's like a secret admission that he would have loved to have played for Leeds. And this is what you get. This is what you get. Is that they've all got a boner to players, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? Basically, is what it is. They can't wait, and you're getting 100% from every team that you play against. And I really think you've seen that today. Whereas Sunderland, for me, I mean, so it's like watching Ipswich last year at the moment. They're banging goals from this range. The keepers are flapping, the referees are flapping. But I'm not fussed because I think it'll turn. But
yeah, it will. I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I've only really ever seen Leeds play, obviously outside the 3 seasons that we've had recently in the Premier League. I've only ever seen us play in the Championship and League One, and I used to go home and away, and I used to see this firsthand. Like, it exists. This fanfare, the sellouts when Leeds turn up, and it is part of what you have to deal with playing for Leeds United and supporting Leeds United. You have to deal with it. We have to be better at that. But some of these fan bases, and we have it on our show. Not with Lou, because Lou gets it. I think we've been a Newcastle fan as well. But Huddersfield, Lincoln, Bradford even. You know what? I think Bradford deal with this to a point as well in League Two, because the size of that club in League Two is massive. But they don't get it. They don't understand what it's like. The fans and the players all shift up 10-15% for that one game. Under Bielsa, there were a running thing, weren't they? That every time we dropped points, the team would then go into the next game and lose. It would literally be, it was a running deal. I think it was something like 20 in a row, mate. It was ridiculous.
They were trying to compete with our running, weren't they? They were trying to,
deal with it.
Leeds and Bielsa.
So they had nothing left afterwards to then deal with the game that would come in 4 days later. So, and I remember it when we first came down to the Championship, we dealt with it. When we were in League One, we dealt with it more than ever. League One was insane because some of them clubs would never have got the opportunity to play at Ellen Road or in a game as big as that ever again. So, you know, it were a massive cup final. So, yeah, and it is something that we have to deal with. But again, you know, sometimes you can't overcome that. I think most of the time that we will. You know, most of the time we will overcome that. And we've seen today's game unfold already differently this season, where we've scored after 10, 15 minutes and the team just can't do that anymore. They can't just set up in banks like they did today. You know what I mean? So, and as the game gets further and further on and it gets closer and closer to the final whistle, they know that they're getting closer and closer to getting that point.
Yeah.
So it becomes almost easier to just give that little bit extra. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Michael, what Leeds need up front is a dead-eye striker, killer instinct that has pace, can run in behind the defenders and run the channels. Bamford and Joseph are not that. Pirro has killer instincts but no pace. Do you know what?
You've just described a £40 million striker, though, Michael. That's the problem. You've just described Erling Haaland. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm being serious. Like, you haven't described a Championship striker. Look at how impotent Bristol City looked today. They didn't, you know, Naki Wells is a pretty good Championship level striker. He didn't have a sniff today. You know, when we played Sunderland, you know, they scored 2 goals against us. Obviously, what happened later on in the game. Who was their striker that did what you just described? It wasn't. It was Joe Bellingham was their biggest goal threat and attacking midfielder. You go through the rest of the division, they're all like this. You know, they literally, Lyle Foster at Burnley some would say he's probably one of the best strikers in the division. He doesn't score bag full of goals. He's not clinical in front of goals. In front of goal, he's just not. So you don't have what you've just described at this level.
No.
You just don't. Once in a blue moon, they'll come along, and before you know it, they're snapped up and in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I was about to go into a big thing of like Adam Armstrong in the playoff final, you know, one chance and absolutely kills it, you know, and I just have no confidence that we've got that at
Adam
all.
Armstrong's a great example, but even he's not good enough at the Premier League.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
He's just not. But you think about it through time, mate. There's very, very few. You won't find more than 2 or 3 in the same season, if any. You know, like if you're looking through this division, you're talking about people like Josh Sargent. But you are, right?
And Chris Wood has taken years to I mean, you know, even, you know, Nottingham Forest fans are like, oh, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, I mean, it's taken such a long time. And obviously, you know, for that to happen, you're absolutely right.
Look at the game Kiefer Moore had last Friday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what you're talking about. You know, Kiefer Moore, again, would be considered one of the top 5 or 6 number 9s in the division.
Yeah.
Loads of Leeds fans were clamoring for him. He had an absolute honker against us. I mean, he nearly gave us a goal, didn't he? At one point, they just don't exist.
Do you think there's a little bit of a problem though with if we're going to go up automatically? I mean, I don't know your feelings particularly on if it's playoffs again. I mean, it's the dread, isn't it? It's the fear. If it's playoffs again, I mean, it feels almost like it's got to be automatics. Are you a little bit concerned about the fact that, look, you know, when you get a Bristol City away, it's got to be 3 points, really? I mean, you know, where do you stand on that kind of thing, really, that the fact that we've got to kind of build this momentum?
I mean, the fact is you always want to win every single game when you're in the top 2 hunt. I do believe if we kind of maintain 2 points at home, 3 points at home every game and a point away from home every game, we'd go comfortably. So is it going to be a detrimental result to the season, getting a point away at Bristol City? I don't think so. I think a lot of teams will go there and lose. I think Burnley, Sunderland, Sheffield United, they'll all go there and struggle to get results. You know, Sheffield United, after losing to us, went and lost again. You know, teams in and around us are going to drop points. I've got a mate who's a good mate who's a Burnley fan. He says that most weeks they're kind of falling over the line into wins and into results. You know, they're not playing particularly well, whereas we can't really say that. We're playing well most of the time. You know what I mean? So, I actually don't think so. I think most of the time the game that we saw today would still win it. I think most of the time that, you know, the game plays out like that, we still end up winning that game. And those that we don't, it's important that you don't lose, and we didn't. So
Yeah. Absolutely. IPW133, we can keep missing those chances when we go to the Premiership. Chances will be few. We will struggle to step. I mean, listen, Premier League's a whole different ball game. I reckon about maybe 3 players would be Premier League good enough. I mean, I was watching a little bit of Nottingham Forest Leicester last night, and you talk about 2 teams who are not traditionally. I mean, I've got to say, Nuno. Nottingham Forest, the job he's done.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sat there as a Leeds fan looking at Nottingham Forest going, that could have been us. You know, I really am. I mean, how they've established themselves. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers.
It should have been as well, Brownie. I mean, Forest were a mess when they went up. They were an absolute mess. And for them to survive at the expense of us was...
We beat them as well. We were beating 1-0 and Mark Rocker and all that.
It were a travesty. I mean, even the game that got Jesse sacked down at their place, we battered them for the first half, came out in second half, conceded, and ended up losing that one as well. Like, you know, he's done a hell of a job. He'd have been he'd have been the man that I'd have put in when he got the job. I was banging that drum. I thought he'd have been perfect for us, but you know what, for whatever reason, that didn't happen. But yeah, getting to the Premier League is a whole different kettle of fish. IPW, like at the end of the day, the team will be unrecognisable should we get there. You're right, we won't get them kind of chances, but it's not going to be the same players that are going to be on the end of them. And ultimately, you know, because we missed out on promotion last season, because we got relegated, we're now in a position where when we do go up, it's going to be harder than ever to stay up. You know, we're seeing that this season with what's going on with the teams down there. You know, Leicester at home yesterday against Forest, they'd be expecting to win that if they want to stay up. I mean, the 3 of them can't do anything right now. I know Ipswich are winning at the moment against Brentford, but you know, the show that they're all putting on at the moment is pretty terrible, really, the teams that went up. So, but you know, just bringing it back to the Championship for a minute. Coventry turn a 2-0 deficit at home to Luton around today to beat Luton 3-2. Bear in mind, Luton were a Premier League team only a matter of months ago, and they are now 4th bottom, mate. You know, they're on 11 points with only 3 wins and 7 losses out of 12 games with 2 draws. You know, like when you're thinking about the summer that we've had, with the players that we've lost, with the recruitment that we've done, with the injuries that we've now had to key areas of the pitch, we're doing pretty good going, guys. Like, we have to keep bringing it back to that. We are doing pretty well right now. You know what I mean? Like, 1 loss out of 12. You know, if you factor that out over the season, it's 4 losses over the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not bad at all, really, is it? And putting us in good stead. Like you say, we've got the 7 days off now, and it's Plymouth at home next week. I mean, you'd look at that and go, "Look, you've just got to nail that, haven't you? Really, you've got to win that. There's no kind of justifying not winning that one, really."
3 points at home, mate. 3 points at home. Point away.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then it's a tricky one. After that, it's Millwall away midweek. Then on the Wednesday, you know, which is going to be a bit of a nasty turnaround. But yeah, I mean, for me today, we saw elements of what we've seen all along without being able to get the ball in the back of the net. There was still good passages of play. There was still a lot of positivity. Still like the midfield. He just didn't have that final bit to get the ball in the back of the net. But we've got to really look at ourselves as a fan base and go, what are we expecting here? What is the reality of football? You know, what are we assessing here? I mean, you look at those teams you mentioned there that in the Premier League now, they look like they're coming straight back down. You know, have we done a good job in terms of coming down and then, you know, rebuilding? You look at Luton, what they're doing now. I mean, I think we've got to get to a point where this entitlement has got to, you know, stop a little bit. You know, we've got to really look at where we were pre-Bielsa as well. Do we remember the days where it was like, oh yeah, we lost to Bristol 2-0 away. Yeah, and you just kind of shrug your shoulders and go, yeah, of course we did. Whatever. You know, I mean, you know, we're in a point now where it's like we just got to back them and just let's go for it. You know, let's get behind them a bit. I mean, let's not pull players apart.
it's damaging, mate. It's absolutely damaging to what we're trying to achieve. And, you know, we have to be like realistic with what's right in front of us too. Like, we're playing well nearly every game. You know, we're dominating pretty much every game that we've played. You know, bar one Manor Solomon slip, we'd be undefeated this season. You know what I mean? Like, that is the long and short of it out of 12 games. Yet you've got Luton, who are in a relegation battle after coming down from the Premier League. You know what I mean? So, like, it's... we're in a really, really strong spot. Really strong spot. As for the games coming up, I think Millwall's a particular banana skin. They started the season a bit badly, but their XG in terms of big chances created, they're third in the division. Against the goals that they've scored, it's really low. So they're actually playing well, creating a lot of chances. I think they'll cause us some problems. I don't imagine Plymouth to cause us much next weekend. I think that really should be a guaranteed 3 points, really. But Millwall away is always a difficult place to go. We say that, though. Last season we took them apart at the Den. It's always nice to win down there. I do like going to the Den and seeing us win. But yeah, mate, we need to absolutely keep some reality on this situation. You know, again, if you're going to compare with some of the teams that have been in and around, probably had more success than us recently. You know, QPR as an example, been in the Premier League for more years than us over the last 20 years. Second bottom. Stoke City been in the Premier League way more than us over the last 20 years. 19th. You know, Cardiff even have been in the Premier League way more than us over the last 20 years. Or certainly the same, you know what I mean? Given our 3 years in there, which were ultimately disappointing. Hull 17th, you know, and you go through the division and you think, yeah, we're a big club, but there can't be this entitlement to just, we're Leeds United, we should win the league. Like, it don't work like that.
No, it don't. Absolutely not. Michael Bogle misses next match with 5 yellows. I hope Schmidt gets his chance. He gives us more going forward than Byram. Can we say that Leeds missed Ramazani a lot today, or is that not correct? I mean, missing Ramazani, bringing it back to today's game, for me, Ramazani was kind of getting into that kind of...
Yeah, he was.
Like, you're talking about a real key player here. Do we win that game with Ramazani in there today, Jason, do you think?
Maybe. I think he's that key. I think from what I've seen of Ramazani, you could argue that he's our best winger in form right now. I think he's just so direct. I think his end product's a little bit better than Nonto's.
Yeah.
I think he's so good on both feet as well, like naturally very good on his left foot. So he offers us something that just most championship defenders can't deal with, which is a player that can go both ways comfortably, really comfortably. So yeah, we maybe, mate. I think we miss Firpo more. I think Junior Firpo was more key to what was going on down that side because Byron has to cut it, as I said earlier, onto his right foot and feels more natural going inverted. As for Bogle missing, I think that's a big miss, but it's always going to happen with the way that Bogle plays defensively. He's a bit erratic at times. It was definitely a yellow card again today. I think if he doesn't trust Schmidt to play against Plymouth at home with Firpo back on the left,
just
then
put him on the transfer list.
There is then a question to be asked as to why we did sign him.
Yeah.
Now I understand the trust for Byram, and I understand the trust for playing Byram out on the left back. People have got this kind of picture that Schmidt is a left back. He's not. He's a right back that played left back that inverts. So he's very similar to the way that Byram plays it on the left, and it's kind of considered that Byram would be the out-and-out replacement for Firpo should he be out, and Schmidt is the out-and-out replacement for Bogle, at right back if he's out. So if he doesn't play at the weekend, I would be worried because what a better time to put him into the team than this. So yeah, I'd like to see. I'd definitely like to see larger play. I definitely like to see Schmidt play on that right side. Yeah.
Some comments then from Daniel Farker. So on Solomon returning to action, he compares his form to a bottle of ketchup. You shake it up and you never know what is going to suddenly flow. Daniel Farker felt it was a solid performance, but lacked a clinical edge, a bit scruffy and untidy. I think that's bang on.
Spot on.
Yeah. He also pays credit to everyone at Bristol City and how they handled the tragedy affecting head coach Liam Manning and his family. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Farker for me. He's just it's spot on, absolutely spot on. Totally agree with everything he's saying there.
He'll be all right with the point today, mate. Will Farker? He'll be absolutely all right with the point today. He'll look to the key moments in the game and think, well, we created the opportunities to win the game.
Yeah.
Should Nonto score and the rest of the game plays out exactly the same? Everybody's saying on to the next one, winner. Nobody's calling for Daniel Farke. Nobody's questioning Daniel Farke. Most of the performance was absolutely fine. So, yeah. And again, built on real strong defensive solidity. As for Solomon, I agree with him. Like, I think he needs to play games and get minutes to get sharp. And if we get him there, we'll see a hell of a player on his hands that shouldn't be in the Championship anyway. And the quicker people can get this stigma or whatever you want to kind of call it attached to Solomon off their back, the better for everybody.
And there's some big social media accounts that need to help with that. They need to really just, be careful of that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
And, not put the agenda out there, which I really hope they do. Well, Jason, there we go. I mean, 0-0, not ideal, obviously, not ideal result for what we thought. I mean, obviously, when you look at the games ahead, I mean, the thing that I hate as well is, like, I know some people have looked at the fixtures and go, oh, we should win every game coming up, starting with today's game. It's like, it just doesn't happen like that. No. There is no guarantee. There's nothing. There's two teams playing and a lot of context in there involved. For me, I felt it was, we were decent. It was okay. And we had enough to win today. Yeah. If we'd have snuck a 1-0 win, nobody's saying anything. It's just like, I mean, I'm seeing certain people saying it's the worst performance of the season and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm like, look, we're going to have a lot of highs and a lot of lows this season. I mean, God help us if we get back in the playoffs. I mean, we've just got to pace ourselves a little bit here, guys. Jesus.
What I will say to the worst performance of the season comment is, you have to remember how high the ceiling has been this season, because pretty much every single game has been not perfect, but really good. Yeah, like, I can't think of many bad performances. West Brom away, defensively resolute, game were pretty boring from both sides. I would say that was probably a worse performance. We didn't create anything of note going forward. We didn't have a single chance, really. I think Ampadu had a header, and that was it. Burnley at home, there were large parts of that I didn't like, but the game state and the context was very different. And then maybe today, like maybe, I can't even think of many other dropping points. Like, who else have we even drawn against this season? I can't, you know what I mean? So, like, you have to deal with the comment, I guess, with a bit of context, because we have actually been pretty good this season. But
I just feel like if we bang a goal in or two, nobody's talking about it as worse.
Exactly.
It's just not happening, is it?
There's very little difference between today's performance and the 2-0 Sheffield Wednesday win, as an example. Other than the fact that two of the chances went in on that day and they didn't today. Dan James scores in the first half, Nonto scores in the second half. We're all cooking and saying, on to the next one, fine. With exactly the same performance. They had one shot on target at home. That's it. 5 chances on goal to our 17, I think it was.
Like, worst performance of the season.
Worst performance of the season, really?
That team to one shot on target.
Really? Yeah.
Wow. Jason, before we go then, anything else you want to get off your chest about today's game or things in general before we go?
I think we just need to deal with it with the proper context of the whole situation. Michael's just said they're still unbeaten away from home. Another clean sheet. Bristol City 11 now unbeaten at home. It's an okay point. We should have still won the game. We had a lot of good chances today. Players are going to be coming back. There were obviously suspensions and injuries today that we're still having to deal with. Commentary made a really good point to it earlier on in the season that even still, given massive nucleus to his team is out, we've dealt with it and we're still going on winning games and picking up points. Nothing for me really to kind of grumble about. Obviously I would always rather us win the game, but we did more than enough to win it really today, and we kept them at arm's length again for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. Good stuff. Okay, we'll leave it there, guys. Thank you, everyone who's commented, who's been with us live. If you're watching this again later, please do get your comments in as well. Let us know what you thought of today's game and some of the issues we've been discussing. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. We'll be back Monday to discuss this a little bit further, plus a roundup of all our games across the region as well. But for the meantime, I've been Stephen Brown. Joining me has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye-bye.